So yesterday God spoke to me while I was watching the basketball game, the high school game. And basically what was happening was there was a team that was losing badly. They were down by 10, and it was in the fourth quarter, maybe 10, 15 seconds left. So obviously the audience of the losing team, they started getting out of their bleachers and leaving and going home because, to them the game is basically already over. We already lost. But what I noticed was that the people who were getting up and leaving were the adults. But the children, the kids, they were still watching the game. They were losing. They were actually more engaged, and they were still cheering on their team. Why are the kids so optimistic and hopeful, but the adults, they're already ready to quit and give up because of what they see? And this is when God put a verse in my head, and that's Matthew 18:3, which says, "Truly I tell you, unless you become like little children, you will not inherit the kingdom of God." So after I read this verse, God gave me a message, and what God told me was, I didn't allow you to go through hardships and challenges so that they can affect your next decision. And what this means is that we all have different experiences. We all have things that we've been through. And God has actually allowed us to go through some of these things, but not so that we can be traumatized or live in fear because of these negative experiences. God gave us these hardships and experiences so that we can use them to relate to others, connect to others. Everybody has experiences, that can relate to somebody. God is not telling us to think like children, He's not telling us to, not learn from our experiences. You can still learn from your mistakes. But what he's telling us is to have the quality that children have, the quality of, maybe going through a negative experience, but not allowing it to affect your outlook on the next experience. Like in that game, most of the adults probably got up and left because they've been through this, they've experienced this, they've seen games where, a team is down by 10 and they end up losing, They've probably seen games where a team is down by 10 and came back up, but they still allowed their experience to influence their decision, which is why they left. But the kids, they saw what was ahead of them. They saw the challenge ahead of them. They saw that their team was down. They still decided to stay and have hope. Instead of trusting in our experiences from what we've been through, we need to trust in God. We need to trust in God and His promises. Because even in the Word, God tells us that all things work for the good of those who love me and for those who are called according to my purpose.